Welcome to the learning portal of Thakur Vidya Mandir High School and Junior College. In the previous video lecture, we have learned about system call and the services offered by operating system, that is information management, process management and memory management. Today, we'll learn in detail about information management. The content for today's video lecture is: what is file system? The two types of file system, that is tape based and disk based system. What is blocks and what are file operations? So let's begin. Information management consists of two main modules: file system and device driver. In today's class, we'll focus on file system. File system allows the user to define files and directories and allocate and deallocate the disk space to each file. It uses various data structure to achieve this. For information storage, operating system uses files. The information is stored on files. Files are then mapped by operating system onto physical devices like pen drive, CD or hard disk. A file is a collection of related information. Information can contain program and data, where data can be numeric, alphabetic or alphanumeric. File is a sequence of bits, bytes, lines or records. Each file is having name and extension. The extension of the file depends on the type of file, whereas name is helpful for us to refer that file in future. Along with name and extension, there are other records which are maintained for file, like creation date, updation date, and what is the size of the file. The entire record is created by information management module. There are two types of file system which is used in computer till date: tape based system and disk based system. We'll learn about each in detail in the next slide. What is tape based system? Tape based system are simple but inefficient. You must have seen the camera rolls of Kodak or a movie reels which were distributed in past. That is tape based system. In this system, files are stored onto reels of physical tapes. Generally, one or more files are stored onto one tape. Tapes are used for transporting data from one computer to another computer. So, portability of the tape-based system was difficult, as if the amount of data increased, the size of the reel also increased. Example of tape-based system is cassettes, camera roll, etc. Disk-based system. Disk-based systems are easier and convenient to use. Example of disk-based system are CD, DVD, hard disk, which you are using today in your day-to-day life. Each disk in your CD is divided into tracks, and each track is further divided into number of systems. If you observe a disk carefully, you'll see a concentric circle on the disk. The concentric circle is called track, and further division of that concentric circle is called sector. Number of tracks and the size of the tracks differ according to the size of the disk. It varies from one drive to another. A disk has device directory. The directory lists the file name, starting address, file length, type of file, time of creation, and time of last update. If I compare disk-based system over tape-based system, the advantages of using disk-based system is finding a file on a tape-based system is difficult and time-consuming, while a file can be easily found on a disk-based system. In a tape-based system, if a file has to be modified, it requires to copy the entire tape, whereas in a disk-based system, a file can be easily modified without copying the entire disk. Storage of large amount of information can be done on disk-based system as compared to tape-based system. Disk-based systems are easier and convenient to use in place of tape-based system. Each disk consists of number of blocks which can be rewritten easily, while we require entire tape to copy if we have to rewrite something. Let's learn about some terms used in case of magnetic disk. Tracks and sectors. Magnetic disk surface is made up of concentric circle, which is called track. Track is further divided into small area of information called sector. A sector is the smallest unit of information which can be read from or written to the disk. Sectors varies from 32 bytes to 4096 bytes, and tracks contain 4 to 32 sectors per track and 75 to 500 tracks per disk. The size differs according to the type of disk, that is CD, DVD, all will have different division of tracks and sectors according to their size. The next one is seek time. Before we learn about the other three definitions, let me introduce to you what is read-write heads. If you see a CD drive, there is a pointer on the disk drive which is called as read-write head. It is same as the pointer which you use on gramophone. So what is seek time? The time required for read-write head to move to the correct track is called seek time. That is for searching the correct track on the CD, whatever time is required by that pointer is called seek time. Next definition is transmission time. The time required to activate read-write head to appropriate surface and read data is called transmission time. So, to go to the correct information or sector to read that information is called transmission time. The last definition is latency time or rotational delay. The time required for requested sector on track to rotate below the head is called latency time or rotational delay. So once you find out the track, the read-write head require more time to rotate on that particular track to go and find a correct sector where it can read or write the data. So, the waste in time in rotating on the same track is known as rotational delay. Moving on to the next topic, that is block. What is block? It is a unit of data which operating system defines for the sake of convenience. Normally, operating system keeps all its data structure in terms of blocks. Operating system would view the disk as comprising of number of blocks. From hardware point of view, a disk consists of number of sectors, but from the point of view of operating system, it consists of blocks, where each block is having one or more sectors. Due to this, operating system has to translate a block number into physical sector number. There are following parameters of a block. File ID. It is a letter code given to each type of data file to make it easier for the operating system to identify that file. The second one is starting position in the file. It is the address of the memory location from where the file will start. Third, the number of bytes to be read. It is total size of a file in bytes. And fourth, the starting address of the memory where data is to be read. Whenever program read any data, the file system translates the request into reading one or more sector from the disk and instruct device driver to read the sector to operating system. It keeps all its data structure in terms of block. Operating system then translates a block number into sector number. File system requests to read desired block. It uses disk space allocation, that is linked list, to carry out translation. File system then requests device driver to read desired block. Then device driver issues instructions to the controller for the disk to read required blocks. Controller reads sector by sector and store it in its own memory until desired blocks are read in. As we know, a block is a physical unit of data on the disk and it consists of one or more contiguous sectors. So what are the parameters which are provided to operating system to access those blocks? The first one is sector number, that is SN. Entire disk view as a series of a sector from 0 to n as a sector number. Second one is relative byte number, that is RBN. OS calculate RBN for each record. This is starting block number of each record. Third one is relative record number, that is RRN. OS maintains a field called cursor to keep track of current RRN, which is incremented after each record is read or written. Fourth one is physical block number, that is PBN. OS translates logical block number into physical block number then. Fifth one is physical sector address. While reading a record, if the physical address is maintained into the index, DMS itself can access the final address without going through various level of address translation. The next one is logical block number, that is LBN. File system of operating system calculate logical block number as the integer value of RBN divided by 512. What is logical address? File system of operating system translate logical address into physical address then. And last one is file allocation table, that is FAT. Before any file is written or read, operating system brings the block containing FAT entries into memory for future operation. Moving on to the last topic of the day, that is file operations. As we all know, a collection of related information is termed as file, and file is stored on a disk. So what are the various operations which you can do on a file? The file operations are: first, creating a file. For creating a file, first we check whether there is a sufficient memory space available for that file. If it is available, entry for a new file is made in the directory. Second is writing a file. For writing a file, there is a command in which name of the file is given. Then operating system search for that file in the directory entry and write to it. Third one is reading a file. For reading a file, there is a system call in which a file name is specified. Then operating system searches for the required file in the directory and read it. Next is rewinding a file. The directory is searched for appropriate entry and file is reset to the beginning of the file. Last one is deleting a file. To delete a file, again directory entry is searched, and if that file is found, it releases the memory space and directory entry now become invalid. Before I sign off for today's class, let's focus on board question. What is file system? What are advantages of disk-based system over tape-based system? Explain 3 stages of input-output operation related to disk. Explain file system related to information management with file operation. Define a block with reference to operating system. What are the parameters of a block of data that are concerned with operating system? Explain in brief. Define a block of data. State necessary parameters to be provided to OS to access a block of data. And define the following terms in case of magnetic disk, that is track and sector, seek time, transmission time and latency time. Till then, stay home, stay safe. Thank you. Love and peace from TVM family.